Hello everybody, in today's video I want to talk about style. In industrial design, style is a big topic. We always see different things and describe them with different styles. So in today's video I want to check out what style means, what does the science say about style, is there something like personal style, and if so, what can we do to refine it. So in this video you will learn how to find your own style, what to do to refine your style, and also when your style is even relevant in the first place. So if you want to learn more about your own personal style, then you should watch this video. Let's go. I want to start this video with a quote from Rachel Zoe, who is a fashion artist, and she says that style is a way to say who you are without having to speak. And I think this quote resonated with me because I feel it. Like there's certain ways that people carry themselves, the way they present themselves, the clothing they wear, the way they show up, the energy that they surround themselves with, right? All of these things are showing us who they are without them having to speak. There's a very individual style, the personal style, right? All these things make up a person. And these are just aspects which we can use to understand a person's style. And not just their aesthetic style, but also their style of seeing the world and understanding everything around us. So what is style? Research in this field started as early as 1933 by Bird and 1940 by Eysenck about personality and art. They looked into how personality and art are linked or how they influence each other, but they didn't use the term style at this stage. The industrial design program at Pratt, they state that their graduates will be able to express a personal design viewpoint in their writing, projects, and visual presentations. So that means that in education early on, industrial designers are forced to, or taught at least, to have their own style, to think in their own terms, to perceive the world in their own ways, and also make their view of this world relatable and approachable through their writing, through their design work, and through their projects overall, right? So this is a fundamental aspect of being a designer. It's the style. Another aspect that I found about style was stylometry. I think that's how you pronounce it, which is a mathematical and statistical approach to identify and attribute art to the right artist. So this is specifically for the visual arts, but also for writing. I think that's where it even started. They look at the text, the way things are phrased, the wording, the speech pattern or writing pattern, to be able to attribute a certain text without a signature to a specific artist, or to pinpoint a point in time of a specific author and try to figure out when a certain piece was written in the entire life's work of an author, right? And the same goes for art and visual arts. So here, usually they take a high resolution image and ask an algorithm to scan it pixel by pixel. And that way it becomes measurable, and they can extract different signals like the brushstroke, like the rhythm, compositional choices, all these different aspects, use of color, use of media, is consistent enough that algorithms can attribute authorship, right? So now we can use stylometry to say that this piece, which we don't know who the artist is, looks in terms of style very close to the artwork that Leonardo da Vinci did from the period of X to the period of Y, right? So now we can say this is most likely him or somebody that has a closely related style. And one of the most interesting studies that I read about for this specific topics was the study from Gabora in 2010, and it's called Recognizability of Individual Creative Style Within and Across Domains. So that is really interesting, right? They asked art students to identify which painter made a certain painting. So they took unfamiliar paintings, and then they asked these students to attribute this painting to a certain painter, and they were able to do so correctly. They were also asked to identify the work of their classmates. So who painted what without seeing who painted what, right? And also there, they were able to do so with a higher chance than just random luck, right? And the thing goes further though. There's not just the visual thing, but they also ask creative writing students to do the same for writing, right? So attribute a piece of writing to a classmate. So they already can infer a style just by reading a text of somebody. But now that's the cool thing, is that they were asking creative writing students to guess which painting their classmates would have painted, even though they are like creative writing students, right? So they never have seen each other's artworks. But yet they were able to, by understanding the personality and the style of a person, they were able to infer also the style that shows and is represented in the art of that same person. The outcome that Gabora took from this study is that personal style transferred across entirely different creative domains, right? So from writing, it was transferred to visual art and was still recognizable as a style. We can conclude this study with the visible fingerprint of a person's underlying worldview, which includes the values, associative patterns, habitual ways of resolving ambiguity. All these things leak into whatever medium the person works in. The way I understand this is also that we cannot really even choose not to use our style if we are creatively active. Or at least automatically we apply our style because we always put our own worldview over whatever we are working on. We can try to actively suppress or seek other people's styles, other brand styles, whatever, for a specific purpose, but there will always be some traces of the person and their personal style in whatever work they're working in the creative field. In this video, I want to discuss brand style, house style, and personal style. So what is brand style? Brand style is consistent across all products, right? So we have different products, like on the right, we have bottles maybe, we have other containers, we have boxes, we have little vases, and they are more or less similar in color. They all share a similar radius, for example, are rounded. They have similar materials or material qualities. It's not always necessarily exactly the same because it's not possible across like a whole variety of products, but at least it's as close enough that it's recognizable to be part of a certain brand style, right? And this is also where the CI, the corporate identity, usually is relevant to make sure that everything that goes out there, is it digital or hardware physical, always remains recognizable as belonging to a certain brand. And what we know from brand style is that it dominates over personal style. So if we work as industrial designers for our clients, then we have to make sure that we actively suppress our personal style in order to make the brand style show. So for this, I looked into specific examples. And I think Muji is very interesting for that. Muji as a brand, I think, has a very strong style. So we have this very minimalistic, rounded, soft shapes, colors, more pastel tones. It's not very vibrant or anything, right? But I feel like it's very clean and recognizably Muji. Like very Asian, right? This Japanese vibe is coming through. Another company that is obvious for this example is Apple, right? We know by now that they always use the same kind of radius for their products. And they have the same features across multiple iterations of the product family and the iPad and the iPhone and the Mac, right? So it's very clear that all products from Apple also look like Apple products. Other than the brand style, the house style is applied across product categories. So a brand usually operates in a single product category, right? Apple does consumer electronics, but a house style can also go beyond product categories. They can do cars, they can also do houses, they can do chairs, they can do pens, they can do anything, and still maintain a recognizable style across all these categories. What we often see is that there is purposefully introduced a separation between different market segments. For example, Pininfarina, I think they have a really strong house style. So if you look at the Batista, looks amazing, beautiful, right? This is Pininfarina. Let's see. I also have this. I did a competition with them, and this is what they designed as a trophy. Like, we recognize the shapes, the dynamic curvature, also the color choice, overall, the surfaces. All these aspects also come back in the way they design objects. Here we have a house, and we always have this little notch. It's not just a straight line. There's always something happening. Some dynamic is introduced in their work. So this is very much a strong house style, right? Another example is Studio Tendril. So they make animations usually, and even though the objects are very different, I feel like their style is very techy, and there's always a little bit of a blur and special effect going on. Something's happening, very close-ups, vibrant colors. So I feel like a strong depth of field is applied, and they do a great job with these animations. I think this is one of the best animation studios out there, in my opinion. So what's the personal style then? The personal style is attributed to a single person, as it says, all right? And it shows in the way you sketch. Like, what's the line weight you use? What colors do you use? Do you have a perspective that you usually prefer over other perspectives? The way you structure your sketches. Do you hedge in a certain way? Do you do your section lines in a certain way? Do you build your sketches in a certain way? And that does not only apply to sketching, but also to the way you render images. Do you use a certain focal length maybe? Do you always apply bloom? Do you always have a vignette effect? Very vibrant colors, or like very soft and gradual transitions. All these things are part of your style, and it's not just about sketching, right? It's across everything. The way you build your CAD models. I mean, there's 100 different ways to get to the exact same outcome, but the way you set up your model from the start is part of what your style is, right? And it can also be translated to AI image generation. The way you prompt things might always leave a unique personal trace on these images. I think Bill Ellis, I think that's how you pronounce his name, has a very recognizable personal style. Like highly ornamented and detailed work, a lot of skulls, and we always have this really nice contrast between the dark, black almost, and the golden. And this is a theme that covers his entire work. Here again, skulls, gold, black, right? Skulls, gold, black. Skulls, gold, black. Highly detailed, highly ornamented. Death is a topic. Here he had used a little bit more red than usual. But overall, the theme is very strongly represented in all of his work. The style is immediately, when I see something like this, I know this was done by Bill Ellis, right? In similar fashion, I really like what Mark Mazzone does. He has a very unique sketching style, if you ask me. He often works with blue pen, so that's part of the style too, right? And the way he uses his lines, like very also dynamic and clean hatching, the way he composes things, the way he shades different objects. He has this light shade and then he has this core shadow. I think it's really recognizable, his work. Then we have Steven de Groot. I think that's also a really distinct style, where he uses like these huge markers to basically fill in the color and then use further detailing to bring things to life, just to finish everything with a white stroke and outline outside. And now he gets all these different things that are distinctly Steven de Groot because they have this white outline. And I mean, it's clear he has very recognizable features that make it his style, right? I just wanted to show you my own Instagram page, right? So Design Viking, if you don't follow, keep going. And I started to look into my sketches, and I definitely have a preferred perspective. I like things to go from bottom left to top right in the orientation. And a certain line weight, certainly, but also the way I hatch things or use my structured lines. Here again, from bottom left to top right is the orientation of this barbecue, but also not just in sketches, but in the renders. I feel like this perspective is like something that I really like. It shows a lot, and I also do like ornamentation and surface textures, and that also shows. I almost have it in every project that I do, right? In some way. Here I have it at the base, but even at the bottom side of the pencil. I have it with the shoes. I have it with the watch, some of the latest stuff that I did, right? I really like to go away from the minimalist, clean surfaces, and I think that also is now part of the style that I'm trying to achieve. This was an old piece of work. I also like stronger perspective than just the regular one. So all these things I don't always do purposefully, but they are just coming out of me intuitively because I'm used to them, and that's the preferred way for me to look at things. How to identify and refine your own personal style, right? So this is interesting if you feel like you don't have your own style. So what can you do in order to identify it? So I would say first thing first, gather some of your own work and see what is similar across projects. Do you always sketch from the same perspective? Do you always apply the same effects in your renders? Do you always use the same medium, like always a blue pen, or always just rendering, not sketching as much? Do you always prefer smaller fillets compared to a chamfer potentially, or like very big radii, for example, right? So I think this is the first step that you could take in order to figure out what is similar across different projects. Based on the study that we learned about, right? That style is also something that can be figured out across different domains. So maybe try to do something that is not what you do on a regular basis. So maybe just write something, describe an object in 100 words, arrange 5 objects into a still life, and look at the composition afterwards, and then review. What did you emphasize? What did you simplify? What did you exaggerate? Why is something important to you, which is why you exaggerated it compared to something else? So all these things give you hints about your own understanding, your own preferences in your individual personal style. Try to design something without corporate identity. So don't design something for a company, not for BMW, for Apple. Try to design something just for your own personal preferences. And try to do that with multiple objects, and soon you will recognize that there is a certain style and aesthetic that you prefer. So what do you really like? Also just a selection of objects that you are going to design. Do you always design headphones, for example? Do you always design cars? That is everything part of the style, right? So how do you show these product attributes when no brand forces a direction onto you? And the last thing that I want to talk about is how to refine your style, right? We potentially have some idea about what our style is, but we would like to improve our style or change our style. So I would definitely recommend to check out artists and look what they do and try to go a step further, not just what you like, but try to understand what about their work it is that you really like. Why do you like it? Is it the line weight? Is it the perspective? Is it the medium? Is it the vibrance of the colors? Like all these things, try to identify what it is that you like about it, and then take these aspects and try to incorporate them into your next project. Use also very vibrant colors. Use a sharper line dynamics, right? As it goes with so many things, right? Try to copy from many people and not just from a single person, because then it becomes like just a copy. But if you multiply all the different aspects from different artists and create something new and very unique, then you can create a very recognizable personal style. It doesn't always have to be like the loudest thing, right? It can also be fine to have a very subtle style that is very clean. So it doesn't always have to be super attention seeking or bold, right? That's not the goal here. Usually these styles are more recognizable, but it's not useful in every aspect of design or preferred. So also be aware of these things before you try to go out there and go crazy. Try to be yourself and try to also put something personal into everything you do in design, even if it's for a brand. I mean, there's no way that you can leave yourself out completely. So why not just giving it a little bit more of yourself and make it unique in that way, but also more relatable for other people, because they can see the personality and the character inside the product and not just a bland template that was applied, right? All right, guys, thank you very much. I hope now you have a better understanding of what style means for industrial designers, how you can identify what your style is, and what you can do in order to refine your style, to improve your style, and get somewhere where you want to be. Thank you very much. If you like my work, please follow, like, and subscribe for more. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.